student, today we will learn about foodborne outbreaks mainly by bacterial and viral agents which are responsible for foodborne illnesses. As you know, food gets contaminated from water, sewage, air, soil, plant surfaces and diseased animals following unhygienic practices. This contaminated food is responsible for many foodborne diseases, which means any infection of an infectious or toxic nature caused due to consumption of contaminated food or water. The clinical manifestation of most of these foodborne diseases are loosened bowels, emesis, stomach ache, sore head and feeling of sickness with an inclination to vomit. It results in morbidity, mortality and is emerging as a growing public health concern with an economic burden in many of the developing countries. Now, let us see what are the different foodborne illnesses. Broadly, these foodborne illnesses are divided into two subgroups. One is the foodborne intoxication, which means by ingesting food containing toxins formed by the microorganism as a result of their growth, proliferation in the food products. The second subgroup is foodborne infections, which is caused by consumption of food containing the live microorganism which are present in a reasonable numbers. Foodborne illnesses, these are the predominant agent of foodborne diseases, and among the organisms it is the bacteria which are the major causative agents. Clostridium botulinum, Clostridium perfringens, E. coli infection, salmonellosis and staphylococcal food poisoning are the major foodborne illnesses caused by bacteria. Following ingestion, the toxins get absorbed by the epithelial cell lining of the gastrointestinal tract and it results in localized damage of the tissue. The toxins may be translocated to distant organs like central nervous system, kidney and liver. In India, foodborne diseases are not categorized separately in the Health Information of India. Now, as you know, milk is a very complete diet and it is also an agent of milk-borne bacterial diseases. As you know, it is a complex nutrient with 87% water and the other components are mineral, fats, proteins and carbohydrates. These microorganisms which contaminate the milk utilize these nutrients and they also are responsible for milk-borne diseases. Sources of microbial contamination are diseased milk-secreting animals, unhygienic hands of the milk handlers, equipments, utensils utilized for storage of milk, the non-potable water which may be utilized during the different stages of milk production, transportation and storage are other sources which are facilitating the transfer of pathogens along with the milk. Some of the important bacterial pathogens found are E. coli, Salmonella species, Shigella, different species of Clostridium, mainly the Clostridium perfringens and Clostridium botulinum, Campylobacteria jejuni, Vibrio cholera, Staphylococcus aureus, Bacillus cereus, Listeria monocytogenes, Brucella abortus and Mycobacterium. Some of the bacterial pathogens like E. coli O157H7 is a enterohemorrhagic strain. Its prime source of infection are insufficiently cooked food, spoiled minced beef, unpasteurized milk, non-potable water and contaminated vegetables. Sheep and cattle are the major reservoir, and the transmission of the organism depends on the number of pathogens excreted in excreta and susceptibility of the host. The pathogenicity is Sija toxins, and the symptoms of disease are mild diarrhea, hemorrhagic colitis, hemolytic uremia syndrome. Besides, E. coli results in thrombocytic purpura. Salmonella species is another pathogen. It's primarily found in intestinal tracts of the animals, birds, reptiles, farm animals and human. The infective strains are passed into the fecal matter, and from there it is further carried by insect and other living creatures. Enteric infections is signaled by localized injury without septicemia. Salmonella infection with M cells in Peyer's patches is accelerated by fimbrial adhesion, which results in internalization of bacteria in the vacuoles. These vacuoles act as replication site of Salmonella and eventually liberated from the cells. Symptoms include diarrhea, headache, chill, prostraction, muscle weakness and moderate fever. Shigella species is an enteric bacterium and it is transmitted through one individual to another through unhygienic water and foodstuffs. It attaches to and penetrates the cell wall of the small intestine by means of toxins. These toxins, the Shigella toxins, capacitates the bacteria to enter the epithelial lining of the intestine. Thus, it leads to a rupturing of the lining and internal bleeding. Pain in abdomen, diarrhea, cramps, nausea, fever and mucus or pus along with the stool are the common symptoms. Another bacterium is Clostridium perfringens. It flourishes in protein-rich foodstuffs like meat, milk, soups and gravies. It is also present as a normal intestinal microflora of animals and human. It may also occur inside some of the legumes, poultry, lamb, pork, fish, crab, etc. The food poisoning is associated with an enterotoxin which results in severe abdominal cramps and diarrhea. The symptoms of this disease is abundant watery diarrhea with serious pain in abdomen, and it falls down within 24 hours. Vomiting and nausea are frequently not seen. Clostridium botulinum is another pathogenic organism, and ingestion of preformed botulinum toxin in the food result in foodborne botulism. So it is an intoxication. The toxin could be present in the foodstuff that have not been properly handled, prepared or processed, as well as by consumption of canned foods. Vegetables, seafood, meat product, they can all be the candidate of this toxin. It produces a neurotoxic substance which causes paralysis, and it is known as botulism. Dehydration, nausea, constipation, blurred vision, trouble in communication, inhalation and fatality happens due to paralytic respiratory system within a period of 7 days. Campylobacter jejuni, which is present in unprocessed, spoiled, undercooked contaminated meat, cross-contamination of raw and processed food coupled with human campylobacteriosis is chiefly responsible for it. Person-to-person transmission of disease has been reported under poor sanitary condition. Chemotaxis, motility and flagella are the required appendages for the attachment and colonization of the gut epithelial tissue. The symptoms of the disease are diarrhea, fever, abdominal cramps, bloody diarrhea, bacteremia and painful infection of the joints. Vibrio cholera, which is another major disease causing bacterium, is transmitted through fecal oral route. Spoiled shellfish, fishes and other food products that have not been heated properly are the common channels of infection. It involves the establishment in the intestine followed by production of a toxin which is known as cholera toxin. This toxin reacts locally to galvanize enormous secretion of fluid and electrolyte from the crypt cells of the small intestine. The symptoms include profuse watery diarrhea, which is also known as the rice water stools, vomiting and severe dehydration due to loss of fluid from the body, and the shock could be lethal. Staphylococcus aureus is another pathogenic bacteria present in the meat and meat products, sausages, potatoes, pasta, etc. The food handlers, equipments and environmental surfaces are the major source of the food contamination. It may also be present on the skin, hair and the nasal passage and throat of the food producing person. It produces an array of toxins which include staphylococcal enterotoxin, toxic shock syndromes toxin, SC-like toxin, and the symptoms produced due to these toxins are nausea, vomiting and abdominal cramp. Among the bacillus, Bacillus cereus is a common contaminant of raw as well as fresh milk, in which the organism may be present as a spore, and therefore it is able to tide over the pasteurization process. It is isolated from extraordinary habitats like hot water springs, where the temperature may be more than 60 degrees Celsius, high pressure environment, refrigeration as well as deep sea. Two types of food poisoning, diarrheal illness and emetic illness, are commonly associated due to this. The diarrheal symptom is caused due to enterotoxin produced by Bacillus cereus within the host. The emetic illness is due to consumption of cyclic peptide toxin cerulate that is produced in the food by the proliferation of Bacillus cereus. Another organism or the bacteria which is of concern in the food industry is Listeria monocytogenes. It is responsible for listeriosis, a foodborne disease. In the US, ready-to-eat food will have undetectable levels or zero tolerance for the organism is present in different ecosystems like water, soil, fecal matter of human, animal, manures and sewage. Infection takes place in different steps. First, access of the bacteria into the host. Second, phagosomal vacuole get lysed. Third, augmentation in the cytosol. Fourth, direct cell-to-cell spread using actin-based motility. The symptoms of the disease are fibrosity, coldness, sickness, sore head and neck, stiffness, diarrhea, shock and weakness. Some of the milk and meat products are infected with Brucella abortus. Mainly the diseased animal are the primary agent and therefore they play an important role in the disease transmission. Milk products such as ice creams, yogurts, soft cheese prepared from unpasteurized milk may contain a high count of this organism and it is responsible for a disease known as brucellosis. It is established in an array of human organs. Factors like lipopolysaccharide, adenine guanine monophosphate, VIR-B, proteins and urease enzymes are associated with pathogenicity of this organism. The symptoms again include fibrosity, exhaustion, restlessness, coldness, perspiration, pain in the muscles and joint pain and decrease in the weight of the body. Another organism known as Mycobacterium, which is responsible for disease in human, is of concern. Humans are susceptible to bovine TB caused by Mycobacterium bovis, infected by consumption of unpasteurized or raw milk from diseased animal. Due to presence of fatty cell walls, Mycobacterium resists the process of gastrointestinal tract. Contaminated and unpasteurized dairy products are the common source of infection with Mycobacterium bovis. Fever, night sweat, weight loss and other symptoms depends upon the affected organ. After understanding and learning about the bacterial foodborne diseases, let us know what are the foodborne viral diseases. As you know, viruses are obligate parasite and in food these viruses are generally spherical, small in size, observable only using electron microscope. They persist in the environment and can enter the host via contaminated food or water, and once inside the host they are able to multiply in the digestive tract. Viral particles may contaminate the food product through contact from human or animal feces, vomitus, virus containing aerosols. Virus multiplication may result in serious or even fatal situations such as aseptic meningitis or paralysis. Some of the important foodborne viruses are poliovirus, hepatitis A, hepatitis E, rota and norovirus. Dairy-borne viral infections are primarily caused by raw milk. A large number of viruses are present in the milk and they may cause infections such as poliovirus, coccivirus, tick-borne encephalitis virus, hepatitis A virus, hepatitis E virus, complete inactivation of poliovirus in water, milk and yogurt require HTST, high temperature short time pasteurization for 30 seconds. Coxsackie virus are extra impervious to high temperature short time. Therefore, ultra high temperature is advocated for contaminated milk. Tick-borne encephalitis virus can also withstand low temperature long time pasteurization, LT pasteurization. Hepatitis B virus, hepatitis C virus pose less threat to human population as their transmission is via parenteral and not through fecal oral route. There are different sources of contamination. Although the milk is sterile in the udder of a healthy animal, but it becomes contaminated with microbial pathogens during the processes such as milking, handling, transportation and processing, and also the equipment used for milking, filtering, cooling, storage and distribution are the source of contamination. The infected cattle or animals can excrete pathogens or shed viral particles. Also, the workers may shed pathogens from their skin or mucous membranes. Flies may also serve as vector for the spread of viral diseases. Fecal contamination of milk, water and recontamination of the processed milk are the primary source of the transmission of the virus. Some of the important milk-borne viruses are poliomyelitis, hepatitis A, E, foot and mouth disease virus, tick-borne encephalitis virus and rabies virus. Now let us briefly discuss about the important food and dairy-borne viruses. The first one is poliomyelitis, which is responsible for innumerable epidemics since 18th century. The virus may intrude the body via mouth and progresses in the intestine. Anti-polio antibodies are produced in the bloodstream and the individual acquires immunity towards the disease. Symptom includes feverishness, sore head, pain in throat, emesis, complication related to nervous system, inability to move neck and back, muscle weakness, joint pains, paralysis of the respiratory muscles, etc. Now, the other important virus is hepatitis A virus, which is abbreviated as HAV. It is transmitted via the fecal oral route, either from person to person contact or by consuming the contaminated water and food. The symptoms include fatigue, abdominal disturbance, fibrosity, loss and desire to eat, looseness of bowel, yellowish pigmentation of the skin, tissue and the body fluids due to deposition of the bile pigments, which are also referred as jaundice. Urine of dark yellow color and feces of light color are the prominent symptoms. Hepatitis E virus is composed of protein capsid of a single protein and a RNA genome. The genomic RNA is capped, polyadenylated and has 3 open reading frames. The symptoms of this virus are in 2 phases. First phase is for a duration of 1 to 10 days, includes stomachache, soreness, sickness with an inclination to vomit, emesis and high body temperature. The second phase lasts from 15 to 40 days with synchronous jaundice, urine of dark color followed by presence of virus in the blood. Elevated levels of enzyme specific antibodies also develop. It is usually resolves spontaneously and predominantly shows no symptoms in young ones, but can also cause premature birth among the pregnant women. Rotavirus is another virus which spreads through the fecal oral route. After ingestion, the virus particle travel to the small bowel region where they invade the mature red blood cells and replicates. These newly formed viral particles are capable of infecting the last part of the colon and get evacuated along with the fecal matter. The symptoms involve inflammation of the stomach and intestine, watery looseness of the bowel, emesis, fibrosity and stomachache. Another virus of significance in food industry is norovirus. This virus possesses multifarious port of entry, that is, it can enter into the human system through various sources like environment, waterborne, foodborne or from person to person contact. The symptoms of the disease caused by virus are nausea, vomiting, watery diarrhea, stomachache, muscular contraction, lack of appetite, restlessness and low grade fever. This virus causes asymptomatic infection in nearly 1/3 of the exposed population. The gastroenteritis caused by norovirus usually resolves spontaneously and the sickness lasts for a duration of 24 to 60 hours, and it may also persist in severe disease cases. Foot and mouth disease in human is mainly caused due to consumption of unpasteurized product made from milk or using unrefined products of meat which is derived from infected animals. The symptom of this disease involves fluid filled skin lesions, low grade fever, pain in the throat, hand blebs and red swollen mark on the tongue. FMD virus is a member of apathovirus, which is a single stranded RNA virus. Tick-borne encephalitis or TBE is emerging arboviral zoonosis caused by a flavivirus. It is mediated by ticks either from untamed vertebrates to human being or through utilization of milk products which are not subjected to pasteurization process. The symptoms are chronic and acute neurological manifestation in human being. The clinical manifestation of invasion is biphasic nature. The viremic period lasts for 2 to 8 days and is characterized by a mild temperature, headache, tiredness, aching of the back and limbs, nausea followed by asymptomatic period. The second phase of the disease is when it proliferates in the central nervous system and causes loss of appetite, fibrosity, sore head, emesis, extreme sensitivity to light, optical interference, muscular weakness, numbness and coma. Rabies virus is a viral zoonosis which is transmitted mainly by the bite of an infected mammal, often a dog. Two incidents that have been reported since 1996 of potential mass exposure to rabies through drinking unpasteurized milk. The symptoms are divided into 3 phases: prodromal, excitement and paralytic. In some cases, no clinical symptoms are observed and the rabies virus has been identified as a cause of sudden death. Diagnosis can only be established by autopsy of the central nervous system tissue removed from the cranium. In order to contain the foodborne diseases caused by bacteria and viruses, the authorities have proposed legislations from time to time. In 1947, the Vegetable Oil Product Control Order, followed by in 1995 Essential Commodities Act, and in 1955 the Fruit Product Order was passed. Subsequently, in 1973 the Meat Food Product Order, and in 1967 the Solvent Extracted Oil, De-oiled Meal and Edible Flour Control Order were passed. In 1992 the Milk and Milk Product Order, Edible Oil Packaging Regulations, and in 2006 the Food Safety and Standard Act, the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954, was repealed. In spite of all these legislations, a number of foodborne viral outbreaks have been reported across the world. In Denmark, 2 outbreaks were reported from frozen imported raspberries in the year 2005. Similarly, in France, an outbreak was reported due to frozen raspberries, and similarly, a total of 36 cases from norovirus contaminated salad was reported in the military base of Germany in the year 2009. A total of 334 cases were reported in Norway, UK, Sweden, France and Denmark in 2012. In England and Wales, 10,845 laboratory confirmed the norovirus cases in 2012. Similarly, the incidence of rotavirus, hepatitis A virus have been reported from different parts of the world. For example, in the year 1955 in New Delhi, 29,000 cases of hepatitis E virus was reported due to consumption of contaminated city drinking water. After learning about the different bacterial and virus diseases, it is essential to know what are the preventive measures. The methodological regulatory avenue for food safety is hazard analysis and critical control point, or HACCP. HACCP is used in the food processing industry to determine the budding food safety perils so that immediate preventive steps can be taken at each critical control point. Food safety literacy is mandatory to check foodborne epidemics by creating awareness among the food handlers and community regarding proper sanitary practices while cooking, storage, and also the importance of personal cleanliness should be told. Most crucial intervention is hand hygiene of food handlers and of the community at large. Therefore, to prevent the foodborne diseases and to control them, good hygienic practices should be adopted. Consciousness regarding the presence and the spread of virus should be enhanced by food and dairy product handlers. Pasteurization or boiling of raw milk before processing and consumption is essential. Similarly, proper vaccination of dairy animals should be done. Animals should be thoroughly examined time to time, and pathogenic organisms from lactating animals can be controlled by improvement in the animal husbandry, by cleaning and sanitizing, cross-contamination, and using proper storage and cooling the food properly is essential to prevent the spread of the diseases. So, students, let us summarize. Foodborne illness is a precludable public health challenge caused by the consumption and drinking of water and food contaminated with various pathogenic microorganisms and viruses. The main cause of foodborne illnesses are bacteria, and the food get contaminated from various sources like water, sewage, air, soil, plant surfaces, as well as diseased animals including the human beings, and also by following unhygienic practices. Foodborne illnesses can be categorized broadly into two categories: intoxication and infection. Intoxication is caused by ingestion of food containing toxins produced by the microorganisms as a result of their growth and proliferation in the food product, whereas infection is caused due to consumption of food containing live multiplying microorganisms having a reasonable number of pathogenic bacteria or microorganisms. Milk is one of a major source of bacterial infection, and most of the foodborne diseases express common physical symptoms like emesis, sickness in the pain, abdominal area, etc. Therefore, it is essential to follow the food practices, sanitary practices properly to avoid all the ill effects caused by these pathogenic organisms. Thank you.